Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. No crickets. I'm indoors today talking about the 11th episode of the first season of Mad Men, Indian Summer. And I literally just finished it like 30 seconds ago. So I'm going to try to remember everything that happened in this episode. And, away we go. Indian Summer basically means it's fall, but it's really hot out. I'm sure it's not a term that's PC anymore. I don't know if they even use it anymore to describe something like this, but it's funny because I'm in October right now, and it is not Indian summer, but I think it's going to get close to 80 degrees, so, that's close to an Indian summer, but I've said it a lot. But it's going on in the world of Mad Men. In fact, it's so hot that it's too hot to even for Betty and Don to, have relations. But people don't have air conditioners. Even people who are, seemingly middle class, well off, air conditioning is not a thing. I don't know if it's an elite kind of thing or if it's a new kind of thing in the 60s. But it's not something that every house has automatically. Betty did let a door-to-door salesman into the house to look at an air conditioner. It's because she woke up one morning, or actually she was home alone one night, and she heard a noise and was thinking that Dawn was home, but no, Dawn was not home. Dawn was off with Rachel Menken, and they were Menken it. Get it? Yeah. I'm all over the place, but that's okay because I just finished the episode. So Dawn spent the night with Rachel. She was like, this must be so hard for you because, with the wife and the kids, he's like, I try not to think about it. I don't know where this is going. But he truly seems happy when he's with her. I think he loves Betty, but he truly seems happy when he's with her. He didn't come home that night. Betty was alone. I think Betty got annoyed. So when a man came, door-to-door salesman, to try to sell an air conditioner, she let him in the house. And I think she was thinking about him. She was thinking about being naughty with him. But she actually almost said, let's go upstairs and look at the bedroom. She didn't. At the last second, she turned around and said, I think you should leave. She had second thoughts. She probably thought bad about it. But she was definitely thinking about it. She was definitely thinking about that guy. When she told Don about it, he got very angry. He's like, you can't just let strangers in the house. This is in my house. That's also the patriarchal, man, this is my house that you live in. He didn't say our house. He said, you let a man in my house, which I thought was interesting. And you didn't realize how much Betty was thinking about this guy until later when she went to move the washing machine that was shaking out of control, and she went up against it, and it vibrated to the point of her liking and her thinking about the salesman in a little fantasy that's made her so hot that she had to go stick her face in front of the fan. And I guess vibrating things was a theme in this episode because one of the products that the Sterling Cooper team had to kind of come up with an advertising campaign for was a weight loss tool that basically women wear, and it vibrates. And it really doesn't, there's no way of saying it actually makes women lose weight, but women were satisfied with it. So they brought in a woman to look at it. They gave it to Peggy, gave her the task of coming up with ideas for it, just like she did with the lipstick. She brought it home, she put it on, and whoo, she felt something. So basically, this was an early way of saying, hey, women, come get a giant vibrator, put a vibrator on and wear it. This is not going to, it's not going to make you lose weight, but it will make you feel good. And I think that is the way they actually ended up going with it. They were saying, with a balanced diet, this could make you feel better. They were trying to say it without saying it. And I think Dawn said it makes you feel like you're with a man, even when you're not with a man. She had to present in front of all these guys. It must have been very uncomfortable for her to say it, but not say it. She tried to explain it to Dawn earlier without saying it. He got the gist of it. They all got the gist of it. And then they were, really being crude about, imagine if this woman wore it, that'd be great. Or imagine your wife wore it, and they got all upset with each other. So that was like the big topic of like, I love the inside advertising stuff. I love that stuff. So that was kind of the client thing going on. There was other client things going on also. Cigarette guys came in. I forget, the Lucky Strike guys. He was the old man who the actor is, if you anybody watches The Middle, he played the granddad, old Mike, Big Mike, who like was the hoarder and was on. He wasn't on a lot, but I just knew I recognized the actor. I think it's him. Now I'm starting to question it. Anyway, so he came in and they actually brought Roger back. Roger had the heart attack, but he was doing a little better. They brought him back as a show of goodwill, a show of faith to Lucky Strike, and to kind of show that that Sterling Cooper is strong, because Sterling's there, Cooper's there, they're all there. And Roger comes in. He's he's himself. He gets to spend a little time with Joan. I said last week that he truly feels bad about all the choices he made, but he says, he said to Joan alone, I've never been sorry to be with you. Joan, he likes climbing her hills, I think he said. He is really awesome because of how inappropriate he is. His inappropriateness is part of his charm for me. It's just, he's so brazen. It's hilarious. They brought Joan in to kind of give him a little color, to make him look a little better, give him some makeup so he looked better to the Lucky Strike guys. I think they also know what's going on, so they wanted her and him to have a second alone. That's just a hunch. But he goes in with the Lucky Strike guys. They bring him all pastrami, and I'm thinking that's probably not a good idea. He pours himself a Coca-Cola, has a bite of the pastrami, a sip of the Coca-Cola, and he has like a relapse, a little, not a heart attack, I don't think, but something, chest pains, that he was like, oh no, not again. And at first I thought, was he acting to show something? But no, it was happening. And he came back too soon. It was too much, too soon, too fast. And of course, these guys don't know. They're all smoking around him. I think he lit up too. It's like they're in the Lucky Strike guys. The guy lights a cigarette and has a heart attack. They're talking about the lawsuits. They're talking about warning labels. And here's this guy who's basically dying, probably because of cigarettes and the way he eats. And it's just, at the same time, they're trying to advertise for cigarettes. It's hilarious. His wife was pissed for them bringing them back. He's like, go to hell, Bert. And she leaves. And that's the end of Roger's story for this episode. Now, Dawn, in the meantime, Mr. Cooper, they start worrying because it's like, is he dead? Is he going to die? Oh my God, what's going to happen? Are we going down? And they think, they're going to probably take Dawn. The Lucky Strike guy actually suggested it to Cooper. He's like, you need to show Dawn some faith. And all the guys on Don's team were speculating that they're probably going to make him a partner. And Mr. Cooper brought Don down to his office and basically says, I'm making you partner. I'm offering you partnership. And Don took it right away. He's still going to be head of creative. But then he's, I guess his name's not on the masthead that's yet, but I think it becomes Sterling Cooper Draper. I think. I don't know if that happens right away, but it was something that you could tell Pete was not happy about it. He has this rivalry with Don that he'll suck Don's ass when he needs to, but he does not like him. And I think he knows that Don does not like him. I'm assuming Don does not like him. Who does like Pete Campbell? Again, he's a future serial killer in my head. I assume he has that serial killer gene in him. Whether he does it or not, I'm sure he doesn't, but he could. He comes right in. He's like, is he dead? Oh, thank goodness. He didn't go in to ask about Cooper. I mean, they asked about Roger Sterling. He says he was asking about Roger Sterling, but he really went in there to see what the hell was going on with Dawn. He actually said to his secretary, let me know when they come out. She's like, oh, yes, I will let you know exactly when they come out. That's all I'll do is stare at their door. And he's like, who the hell are you talking to? So there's still that, the boss man talking down to the secretary lady. He has some of that power, which, of course, he wields in quite the dickish way. He went to Don and he was like, I just want you to know that you deserve it. And he's throwing his hat in the ring to be, I don't know, to move up. And Don just was like, yeah, that's great. I believe you. Whatever. He just kind of blew him off, which I thought was cool. Trying to think what else happened in this episode. I mean, Rachel Menken met with her sister, I believe. They went to dinner. They're talking about Rachel not being with him, having a man, possibly being interested in a married man. She's like, oh my goodness. And she's like, no, nothing happened. Well, that's a lie. But, she did bring it up with her sister. And of course, everyone's smoking. Betty was talking to her friend about letting the salesman into the house and Don being upset. And of course, they're smoking in the baby's room and talking about the heat and the baby not doing well with the heat while they're smoking in the baby's room. Just, I was born in the 70s, and I don't know, like, I know my parents smoked, but I don't know if they smoked in my room. Jesus. I do have a memory of eating breakfast in the morning and seeing smoke dancing through the sunlight. Different times. I'm trying to think what else happened in this episode. Well, the big thing, the thing that kind of bookended the episode, well, not fully bookended, but at the beginning of the episode, we saw Dick Whitman's brother there. I don't remember his name, but it's Don Draper's brother. He looked a little disheveled, and he had a package that he's sending to Don Draper, personal. And then he seems to divvy up some money. Then we see him step on a chair and hang himself and kill himself. And that is kind of forgotten for the entire episode up until towards the end, where after Don leaves for the day, Pete goes into Don's office to kind of get a lay of the land, because that's the office he wants. He goes and sits down, puts his feet up, kind of, feeling like sitting in the big chair. And the guy from the mailroom, who doesn't know who Don is, comes in and is like, Mr. Draper, puts the package on his desk. Pete looks at it, leaves it, puts it down, then looks at it again, and then takes it. I thought he was going to show some goodwill and go deliver it to Don Draper at the end of the episode, but they never show it again. He leaves with the package, and that's it. So whatever's in there, we don't know what's happening. But I'm wondering if it starts to unravel Don Draper's secret life. So we as the audience know that Don Draper used to be Dick Whitman. Rachel Menken knows a little bit about Don's past, probably more than anybody else, including Betty. So we know the most. Rachel Menken knows some. The brother obviously knows it all. He's dead. And perhaps now Pete's going to know something. Could Pete hold something over Don's head? Is that going to happen? I don't know. I assume Pete's going to open it because he's a creep. We don't know where it's going with it. But Don did come home, and he told Betty about the raise. And she was all, happy for him. She's like, I'm so happy for you. And it's the heat's going to break soon. I thought that meant, it'll cool down and we can make love. But then she's like, I'm sorry, I let a man in the house. And she just kind of went back to doing work. And like, he got a big raise and a big a promotion. And she didn't care. And I think Don looked at her like, what am I going to do with you? Earlier in the episode, he ended up calling the psychiatrist, because he's like, she's more nervous. What am I paying you for? You've taken a woman with anxiety and made her even worse. And he's like, it takes time. And he obviously, the doctor had no problem telling all this to Don, but you could see Don was frustrated with the whole situation. He thought he was helping his wife by sending her to a psychiatrist, and now he feels like he's making it worse. And at the same time, he's got this strong, independent Rachel Menken businesswoman who he's infatuated with, who is, I think, more his speed. And Betty is this timid housewife who likes to shoot pigeons and give hair to children. I'm trying to think, did I cover everything? I mean, Peggy, because of her work, she went to Don and she said, I need desk coverage or something, and I need a desk. And Don's like, if you're gonna work like a man, talk to me like a man. She's like, I want a raise, and $5 more a week, I think. He's like, how much do you make? And she said $35 a week. And he was like, ooh, that's a 15% raise. So he was kind of being like a little sarcastic to her, like, that's a huge raise because you make so little. But in the end, he gives her the raise. He let her go home early, and he's going to have desk coverage so she can go do her other work on accounts. And she's like, can I tell Joan? I think that was she just wanted to throw it in Joan's face. I think that's kind of her way of celebrating. Oh, she also went on a date. She went on a date with a fella an actor that I've seen in an old show I used to watch, Greek. He was a college kid, and now he plays an old family friend of Peggy who the parents set up and wanted them to date. And it didn't work out very well. He was talking about being a truck driver. She works in New York. He ended up being insulted that he thought she was insulting him. He started insulting her, and it just kind of ended. I don't think we're ever going to see him again. And there was a good amount of Peggy in this episode. The guys were insulting to her, basically saying, "Give her that weight loss thing. You know, she could use that." And you know, she's starting looking at herself in the mirror, so maybe she's starting to question how she's looking too. And I feel like, I don't know if this is on purpose or anything, but they're dressing her like she definitely looks slightly bigger than the first episode. I don't know if that's part of the storyline. I have no idea, or if I'm just being a misogynistic, sexist asshole, and I just want to smoke and drink and be insulting to people. But it's just, I'm seeing it, I'm assuming it, and we'll see where it goes from here. But folks, gosh darn it, I think that covers everything. I mean, I went over Roger. Pete ended up having a drink and leaving the glass on his secretary's chair as a kind of a sign of, hey, I'm an asshole, don't forget, but I'm your boss. Or I'm your boss, don't forget, but I'm an asshole. Bert Cooper made Don Draper a partner. Betty Cooper fantasizes about the salesman with a washing machine that vibrates, just like the weight loss machine that Peggy is working on, which isn't really a weight loss machine, but a giant vibrator. Don's made partner. Pete doesn't like it. Or he's not thrilled about it. He's not a big fan of Don. He thinks they helped build Don. But the other guys were like, you know, Don's loyal. Don likes us. Do you think he likes us? This, that. So they're all gearing up for changes in the office. And I'm gearing up for only 2 more episodes of the season. And this was episode 11, my friends. There's only 2 more left. Now, the next one is called, I think it's called The Debate or the Nixon versus Kennedy. I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to it because they've been kind of gearing up for this for the season, the Nixon versus Kennedy. And even in this episode, Roger's like, the nerve of that that campaign. You know, he's basically insulting the Nixon campaign. I think for being just stupid about things like Nixon could have used some makeup that he was getting. He could have used some makeup during the debate. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to finishing out this season and just rolling right into season 2, friends. We're going to do it every Friday, like clockwork, my friends. You're going to come with me on a mission to watch every episode of Mad Men. You can follow along on that mission by going to fansnotexperts.com/mademan, anchor.fm/mademan. At Twitter, it's at mademanpod. Facebook's Fans Not Experts. And of course, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, other things. We're all over, any place you can find a podcast. If you search Made Man, you should be able to find us. If you can't find us, then you're not listening to me right now, and it really is not making any sense anyway. But if you are listening to me right now, that means you found us already, or your last name is Morris, one or the other. So I want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Hey, guess what? We're on iTunes, which means we could have iTunes reviews. The more reviews we get, the easier it is for people to find us. The more people find us, the cooler I am. And I want to be really cool. Now, I have 0 iTunes reviews, which means you could be the first person to give me an iTunes review. And if you are, I will smile. I will give you a shout out in the next episode for sure. Unless your last name is Morris, then I've given you enough shout outs. So really, what's the point? So anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for coming on this journey as I go to become a made man. Go Sox.
Fans Not Experts.